What's up, duelists? Big video today. Big video today. A lot of tournament testing, a lot of quality matches. Gonna cover my overall record, gonna cover 3 different decks with you guys. Gonna cover some brand new brews, never before seen. Stuff that people have only speculated was possible. This is one of the first decks that I'm playing. I'm gonna probably show this deck last because I think it's the most hype, and I only got one match in with it today. I basically spent a good solid amount of time today playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Just a lot of time today playing Yu-Gi-Oh. I pretty much ignored all my other responsibilities. So if you guys like this video, make sure and leave a like. Make sure and subscribe. If you guys are digging this tournament prep content, if you guys are digging this trying to break new strategies content, show me some love. Show me some love in the comments. All right, okay, cool. Getting into things. This is the insect deck. I'm going to go over all 3 deck lists with you guys. This is my insect tribal deck. It doesn't play Solidarity. The reason being is that Solidarity kind of conflicts with Lairwire and Doomdozer, and all of your monsters are actually quite large to begin with, the only exception being Spider, but you're really only using Spider to attack defense position monsters anyway, using Book of Moon or just running over little things like that. Spider is just a cute tech. You could honestly replace this with the Chainsaw Insects. In some matchups, Chainsaw Insect comes in over the Spider. This is largely a stun beatdown deck. It plays a lot like GOAT format, like beatdown style aggro decks. Lairwire is just one of the best trap cards in the format. Just destroys any monster. It's great. Just pop a monster. All you got to do is banish an insect. And then you also get to play Triple Verdant Sanctuary. This is a cool card. It basically turns all of your insects into monsters that replace themselves with a same level, which is super nice. You have a lot of aggression in the Crosshorde Beetle, and these 2 monsters just being absolutely massive as long as you have multiple cards. You get to play double Starlight Road because you're not playing Solidarity, and you do get to play Skill Drain, which is also really good in this deck. So yeah, I think this deck is actually super solid of like an aggro deck. I think it's like a solid, like, I'd bring this to a tournament. Shit. I mean, I got 1 game in with it, and it felt really strong. I'm probably going to play another game with it. Keep seeing how it does. Of course, rivalries, oppressions in the sideboard. You got to have them for the unfair matchups. You got to have the Crows, the Cyber Dragons, and the Dust Tornadoes. This is just Edison standard shit. And then I've got a Plague in case I want to Synchro Summon for whatever reason. I don't know. The sideboard, still a work in progress as you can tell, but you got the stuff you need basically. Okay, the next deck I'm going to be playing in this video is my Burn deck. This is actually my Chain Burn list. I took a lot of inspiration from Frog Slicer's Chain Burn list. Make sure and check him out. He has a lot of Chain Burn videos if you're looking for more Chain Burn content. This is my take on his list. I cut a lot of the fluff. I cut the Jar of Greeds, the Legacy of Yatagarasus. I was getting into a lot of positions in games where I just needed to top deck a burn spell, and I was top decking a Jar of Greed or top decking a Legacy of Yatagarasu and just being behind that extra bit of time. It takes a full turn for Legacy or Jar to be, active, and I don't think it's really necessary to have that extra card to chain link in this deck. So I replaced it with actually 1,000-point burn spells and poisoned the Old Man. I think these cards also increase your resilience to Trap Stun and Decree, and random stuff like Jinzo out of Frogs and whatnot. And they also just, make dealing the last few points of damage a lot easier. Meteor of Destruction up front, of course, can't activate it later in the game, and Tremendous Fire, it's great at closing out games or just getting your chain link started and whatnot. I am playing the 1 Enable White Rabbit. It does turn on your opponent's battle traps, but I think the upside of randomly getting in 1,400 points of chip damage is very high. And then at the end of all of it, maybe you can even proc some of your own stuff. It also gives you another monster that you kind of want to normal summon into like Ceasefire and whatnot. It's a good card. I think playing the 1 is definitely correct. I am playing Morphing Jar. This is an FTK in this deck. If you open Morphing Jar and it resolves, you win the game on the spot. Cyber Valley and Battle Fader, as well as the Scapegoat, I did really like. I liked this combination of a draw engine in Frog Slicer's list a lot, at least in game 1. And then game 2, what I do is my opponents, they side out all their bottomlesses. They side out all their torrential tributes, that kind of shit. And I side out all 3 Cyber Valley, usually, and some number of Battle Fader, depending on if the opponent has Royal Oppression. And then I bring in all 3 Breaker the Magical Warrior. Breaker the Magical Warrior is basically just my way to like poke at Dust Tornadoes, poke at Decrees, whatever, and then attack over monsters or attack directly. It's a great card in post-board situations. Your opponent will not likely have bottomless. They'll likely have spell and trap removal because they're trying to hit your stuff on the end phase, and this guy just forces it outright. You also have Sirocco's for Blackwings, Brain Control for the big monster matchups, Jester Comfit, and the 2 Cyber Dragons, or Comfy. How do you say this? Comfy? These are just special summon fodder for the Caius. The Cyber Dragons also double in the machine matchups. And then I also have 2 of my own Dust Tornadoes as well as a Space Typhoon. These help me again against Decree. They help me against like random shit that's good against this deck. But for the most part, they rarely come in. It's mostly just the 3 breakers that are coming in over the 3 Cyber Valleys every single time. That's the standard side in. And then, of course, the last deck, which is the first deck I'm going to be covering the replays of, is my Quick Draw Dandy list. This is my personal take on this list. I love Quick Draw Dandy. I think it's one of the most fun decks to play in the world, and I think this list is one of the most fun ways to play this list. There's a lot of really cool synergies in this list. The first one is the 2 Botanical Girls. That ups your plant count to 7 plant monsters, which allows you to play 1 copy of Mark of the Rose. Snatch Steal is a super broken card in this format. It's banned for a reason, so being able to play a copy of Snatch Steal in your deck just makes your deck that much more powerful. On top of that, you get to play this tech card, Mark of the Rose, tech enemy controller, as well as triple Upstart Goblin, because you're not actually playing any blind milling in this entire deck. You're not going to randomly blind mill your Avarice, you're not going to randomly blind mill your tech cards, and you can reliably guarantee that you'll see them in the mid to late game, which is super cool. I actually really fucking hate blind milling in general. I think it's like, yeah, the upside is very high, but at the same time, you're like giving away information. The downside is very real, and good players will exploit blind milling. And of course, blind milling is a gamble at the end of the day. Sometimes you just blind mill and it's terrible, and it doesn't reward you in any way other than give away information. So I dislike it. I think I like having more control over what I'm going to draw in the mid to late game, more control over knowing what I'm going to hit. This deck also does get to main deck Crush Shoot, which is super nice, and the 2 Wind Blasts, which make sure your Mind Crush is live some percentage of the time at least. You have 4 discard fodder. I am speaking like I can't speak today. You have 4 discard fodders for the Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, the 2 Dandelions, and the 2 Treeborn Frogs. And then on top of that, you can actually find these a lot more easily, the Dandelions in particular, because you have the 2 Botanical Girls to search for them. So this deck just finds Dandelion a lot more easily, and then it starts to abuse it. The last tech in this main deck that's super hype is actually the Air Knight Parshath. This card, I tried it one day just like on a whim, and I'm like actually super fucking sold on it. I think it's like gonna end up being standard in at least this deck in the future. It's so good in the mirror, and it's so good against like it's basically Caius into Raikou Hamster, but it's also proactive into nothing. And against the battle recruiter decks, like zombies and fairies, this card just eats them alive. It's like, oh, nice Pyramid Turtle, attack, draw a card. You get another monster in defense, attack that, draw another card. You're almost always going to be getting 2 draws out of Air Knight in this deck, and there's lots of ways to force it and make it go through. You have like enemy controller, you have a lot of ways to get rid of back row in the, Space Typhoon, Phoenix Wings, that kind of stuff, Solemn Judgment to force it through. And then you have so many great things to draw into off of this. You can draw into like all of this powerful nonsense off of this Air Knight Parshath. And then of course, the triple Snowman Eater, kind of glue things together, make sure you don't randomly die to Black Wings and whatnot. The sideboard is very straightforward. The only specific tech in this list is the Spiritual Water Art. This card is very good against combo decks. I do bring it in against combo decks. It is a way that you can tribute off one of your 7 waters and sort of get an extra Trap Dust Shoot, basically. Everything else is pretty standard, though. I think I might want a 3rd Dust Tornado. I was having a little bit of issues. I'll talk about it when I get to the videos. Clearing some back row against really back row heavy decks. In the games that I do play, I don't have a 2nd Stardust Dragon in my extra deck due to a mistake, but I added it here in hindsight. So if you guys want to copy the list, definitely copy the one with the 2nd Stardust Dragon, not the one in the replays. Okay, let's go ahead and get into these replays. I think I've got 6 replays. It's a lot to cover. We're gonna have to speed through this 6 replays. Yeah, 6 replays. Oh my goodness, it's gonna be a video. Strap yourselves in. Don't forget, like and subscribe. All right, this stuff takes a lot of effort. So I hope you guys like it. Okay, first game is against Thunder King Rice. This was my first game of the day, so I'm feeling a little rusty. I've actually not played this quick draw list very much, and you do see in my opening hand the Air Knight Parshath tech. You're going to be able to see some powerful moves with this. Opponent is playing their own sort of quick draw brew. They've got Trigodia in the main, as well as a Destiny draw, which is a unique one. They go ahead and start off with a T-set, setting Raikou, setting Space Typhoon. On my turn, I'm thinking, okay, what's the best way to position myself to play into Raikou plus Unknown? So if it's a Raikou, the best thing to do is go single Lone Fire into Dandy. They'll be either forced to pop the Dandy, or they just don't pop the Dandy and we get a free +1. If it's not a Raikou, getting Dandy is still great, because even if even if it's like, let's say, a Pyramid Turtle or a Goblin Zombie or whatever, if they pop the Dandy, we still get 2 tokens, and we can follow up with Caius on the next turn. So I think the best play here is just single Lone Fire into Dandy. Dandy attack into the Raikou. They do pop the Raikou, and I do get 2 tokens, which is really nice. I get my free sort of +1, and they do reveal that they are playing something with Hamster and Stratos, which is interesting. I make kind of an interesting play here. I set my Heavy Storm. I'm trying to bait them into setting another card. Unfortunately for us, it just does get Typhoon, so we lose our Heavy Storm, which sucks, but hey, what can you do? Sometimes you try to pro Heavy and it doesn't work out. They top deck Necro Gardener, and then they pass, and I'm like, oh, time to get greedy with this Air Knight. Now, in hindsight, this was my first game of the day, and I was like really anxious to try out this Air Knight tech. I probably should have just set the Dust Shoot and waited. Realistically, set the Dust Shoot, set the Snowman Eater, play it safe. I'm in no rush to do anything too crazy. They have no debris targets that aren't, that make Black Rose basically, so I'm not playing into anything too crazy. Plus, Dust Shoot can take whatever is in the way. So here, I do get a little greedy. I do attack with the Air Knight. I do run into this Gores, which it sucks, but at least we get a free draw out of it, and we do pick up, I believe we picked up Treeborn Frog, which is not a bad card. It's not a bad card to draw into here. So I set the Dust Shoot, and I'm like, fuck. Here I Dust Shoot, and then I see that they actually have Tragodia. At this point in time, I'm like, they should have probably dropped the Trag. The Trag can pitch the Quick Draw, steal the Air Knight, and actually flip the tempo in their favor, like, super big. Of course, we would have had the Dust Shoot to take the Quick Draw in their draw phase, but we would have been forced to take that. Trag runs over the Air Knight, and all of a sudden we're in a weird spot. So, yeah, I think Dust Shoot here is going to take the Trag, because I can't afford to let them double tribute for Trag, steal the Air Knight, and then take over the game that way. So we do take the Trag. They do switch the monsters. They actually mess up their attack order, which is a small misplay. It actually costs them, I think, a little bit, not too much, because we do have, answers in multiple Snowman Eaters, but they do lose their token here because they attack in the wrong order. We go ahead and set the Snowman Eater. They top deck Cold Wave. On this turn, I'm not sure if they should Cold Wave here or if they should wait. I don't, generally speaking, like playing Cold Wave alongside these types of draw spells, like Destiny Draw and whatnot. I think it's a little bit awkward. Generally speaking, you can do better than Cold Wave when you're playing draw spells. The only exception to this is in Lightsworn. I think Cold Wave plus Solar Recharge is necessary there, because Cold Wave JD is just so powerful. In these types of decks, if you're opting to go for draw engines, like Upstart Goblin, like Destiny Draw, like in this list, I'm playing 3 Upstart. I'm not playing Cold Wave in this list. That's because I have the 3 Upstart. I think it's awkward. It sometimes doesn't work out the way you want it to. On our turn, we top deck the second Lone Fire, which is fantastic. I mean, that's the reason we go single Lone Fire into Dandy, so we have the second Lone Fire to grab Titanial, and we are rewarded for our turn 1 play. So Lone Fire is going to go get Titanial. We attack for 28, and we pass the turn. Opponent top decks Caius. They pitch Necro for Quick Draw, and they 3-for-1 themselves into the Titanial. At this point in time, if I'm them, I might have even Cold Waved here. I mean, the Cold Wave's not getting any better, but maybe it's worth holding it. I don't know. Maybe it's worth holding it so they can pitch it to Drill or something. I just don't see it. They do get the Necro Garden in the grave, but they have to 3-for-1 themselves into the Titanial, and that's why Titanial is so disgusting in this format. We draw Upstart. That's going to give them a few more life points. Another Upstart is going to give them a few more life points. The reason I don't mind Upstart in this deck so much is you're pretty fine playing the grind game. You have a lot of resources in the mid to late game between the Avarice, all the Plant Engine, the Mark of the Rose, the enemy controller to take position back, and then, of course, you have access to Drill Warrior, which can give you infinite whatever you need. So there's that. We go ahead and double Upstart. We set the Treeborn here. It gets our Caius online. It gets the enemy controller online. I think it's just the right play to set that here. They draw, pass again. We draw. We just set Snowman and pass. In hindsight, I shouldn't have set the Snowman here. That was a little bit of a mistake. I should have held this. I don't like setting these cards into no targets, and I don't think that there's much that they could have set here that would have really punished us. They top deck Raikou. They go ahead and set that. I activate this Upstart Goblin, and I find another Caius, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and Caius the Raikou. Attack for 24. Now we have the position firmly in our favor. They have 2 dead cards here. They have Destiny Draw, which is also dead, and then Quick Draw, which doesn't really do anything just yet. And now we have Live Treeborn plus Enemy Controller and Brain Control, so if they ever take back the position, we're just stealing their monsters and attacking for game. They do top deck their Destiny Draw target, and then they do find Dandelion for their Quick Draw, but at this point, it's too little too late. They probably should have made Drill Warrior here, because it does play around things like Brain Control. It does play around things like another Caius, and of course they are gonna go ahead and make Turbo Warrior. I think this is maximum greed. Obviously, Drill Warrior is a little bit sus, but Drill Warrior will at least let you convert one of these Heavy Storm Cold Wave cards into a real card on the next turn. And if I don't have follow-up anyway, then like that's the only thing you're hoping here is basically I don't have follow-up. Otherwise, I can just clear this very easily and win the game. But as it stands, we are going to win the game off the back of these two cards. End phase, I DD Crow the Necrogarna to make sure that we have game through anything that isn't their Trigodia. I enemy controller, take the Turbo Warrior, and then sack the Treeborn for the Caius, banish their token, and attack for lethal. On the next game, what do we have here? Opening hand, we have the Air Knight again. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I get to try out my tech 2 games in a row. Let's fucking go. Plus, this is the matchup where it really shines, so it's quite nice. Unfortunately for us, they have a nice hand for dealing with Air Knight, aka they have Trigodia, basically. They summon Stratos, and this is another reason I like Air Knight in this metagame, is because people are leaving a lot of stuff in play, like Stratos and Machina Gear Frame. Air Knight Parshath punishes those cards. It gives you a +2 running over those. It lets you take their monster by battle, and then it gives you a new draw. And there's a lot of opportunities for Air Knight Parshath to give you nice +2s in this format. So I think it's a good meta call right now, actually, especially against like zombies and whatnot. They search Plasma and they're forced to pass. Their hand is like just tons of dark monsters. Here I go for Lone Fire into Dandy, I think. I just double Lone Fire into Dandy and pass. I'm trying to set up to get this Air Knight Parshath online. They summon Level Eater. They're able to attack one of the tokens with their Stratos. And then on our turn, we do get a chance to do some stuff. We sack for Air Knight. We're able to get another draw here, which is nice. And then what do we draw into? I think we draw into Space Typhoon. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So we have Space Typhoon and then Mark of the Rose, take the Trag. The reason we do this is I want to get my Treeborn Frog in the grave. And I also want to clear their Level Eater in case they have like shenanigans like Caius. Basically, it's just Caius. I passed the turn back. I shouldn't have set the Typhoon here. That was a mistake. It's bad. It's bad to set the Typhoon here because if they clear the Mark of the Rose, the Typhoon is going to lock out our Treeborn Frog, which is not ideal. So I should have held the Typhoon here. However, I'm immediately rewarded because they top deck Scapegoat. So I misplay a little bit, but never punished. They're able to run over the Air Knight. But you know what? The Air Knight got its value. It got the +2 over the Stratos and found us the out. And if they can't out their own Trag here, then we're actually kind of chilling. End phase, I Typhoon their card. On our turn, we're able to double tribute for Titanial. We draw our Mind Crush, which is, you know, just a fine card to have here. We attack for 2,800. I don't know if I set the Mind Crush. I don't remember. I do set the Mind Crush because I know about the Plasma. So I do have a target, basically. They find Heavy Storm. They don't activate it. They just set Necrogarna, trying to set up for that Dark Arm Dragon in their hand, and then they pass the turn. On our turn, we find Foolish Burial, which is just amazing. In hindsight, I make a small misplay here. I Mind Crush, and I name the Plasma, and I bring back Treeborn. I don't use my Foolish. This misplay actually might have cost me the game if I didn't, you know. You'll see. Basically, what I'm thinking is I bring back Treeborn, I synchro with the Debris and the Dandy in my grave and the Treeborn to make Stardust. I get 2 tokens. I have Stardust Titanial against their thing, and then I can attack over whatever and basically just be in a great position. However, I shouldn't have brought back the Treeborn Frog. I should have just Foolish the second Dandelion, gone up to 4 tokens, because I can go, well, I guess, can I go up to 4 tokens? How does it work? Okay, Foolish Dandy. I get 2 tokens here. I summon Debris. I get Dandy. Yeah, I synchro there. Go up to 3 tokens. Sorry, my bad. I get 3 tokens plus Titanial plus Stardust, which is much better. It gives me an extra negate with Titanial. It gives me more resilience against certain things. So I think I should have actually done that instead and saved the Mind Crush, because I don't think Mind Crush on Plasma is even really that good. We Mind Crush the Plasma. We go ahead and bring back the Treeborn, make this Stardust play. Plus, having the Mind Crush in the back row is a little bit more threatening for the most part. Go ahead and Stardust over the Necro. Attack directly. He uses his Necro here to try and set up for the Dark Armed, and that should have been a tell that he had Dark Armed. And unfortunately, Dark Armed is actually going to be able to clear our board thanks to this nice little Level Eater combo that he's got. He goes ahead and Level Eats the Dark Armed Dragon, sacrifices that for the Malicious, and then Level Eats again, brings back the Level Eater, attacks a token, attacks over Stardust, and then Dark Armed trades with the Titanial. This is unfortunate. If I had made that other play and had the extra token, this wouldn't have happened. I would have been big chillin'. I would have been top decking a Caius. I would have been totally vibing out, bro. In any case, they have a Wind Blast. Here we're going to bring back the Treeborn. We're going to go ahead and Caius, target Level Eater. I've had enough of the Level Eater shenanigans. Burn for 1,000. We attack the malicious. He doesn't Wind Blast our Caius here because giving us another activation of Caius is just it's just a death sentence here. With Treeborn Frog in the deck, top decking Caius again is actually quite good. So it turns Wind Blasts into not very threatening cards. It also makes it so that you draw Titanial and it's like not so bad. Here we go ahead and Foolish Dandy for a little bit of defense. Also just because we have Treeborn Engrave and we have the other Dandy Engrave, so the only other target left in our deck is Dandy. Might as well just Foolish it now and use our Foolish. He does find a Destiny draw, which is a pretty good draw. He picks up Quick Draw and Charge. He can charge for Raikou. He does mill Dandy too, which is super nice for him. And here I actually think he makes a game-losing mistake. Pretty big game-losing mistake. If he goes for Drill Warrior here, because he gets the 2 tokens, right? If he goes for Drill Warrior, pitches the Raikou, goes for Drill, then he's actually just in a winning position. And I can't do anything against the Drill Dandy loop. From what I have, I'm just lost. But he gets a little greedy and he wants to keep his Wind Blast live. Instead of recognizing that Drill Warrior is powerful enough to win the game on its own from this position, he just goes for Nitro and then attacks over Caius and attacks over a token for damage. And this is a game-losing misplay because Nitro is not as resilient as Drill Warrior is. And Nitro also doesn't convert these dead cards into live ones. We're able to set our Snowman Eater and pass. This set, Snowman Eater, should have been a tell from him that we're not going to lose to a Nitro attack. So what he should have done is actually Wind Blast the set monster, pitch the Heavy Storm, normal summon Raikou, Raikou attack the token, and Nitro Warrior attack directly for game. Unfortunately, he misses the lethal line and then runs face first into a Snowman Eater and totally punts this game. So not the best feeling I'm having testing this deck. I want to play these decks in a tournament, right? And if I'm winning based off of the back of my opponent making like 2 back-to-back really egregious misplays, in my opinion, I think it's not the best. It's not the best. Here I'm able to find Caius. He's forced to Wind Blast it. He pitches his Heavy Storm. Doesn't really matter. He picks up DD Crow. I pick up Caius. I just pass. He DD Crows the Treeborn. He draws a Lure. He finds a tomato. He summons it. We brain it. We force the Gores. We sack the tomato. We banish the Gores, and then he loses. That's this whole game in a nutshell. But basically, we won this game on the back of our opponent making 2 really fucked up misplays. And I don't like winning games, or I don't like basing my tournament testing off of like games I win where my opponent is just fucking up, more or less. Here we do BM with the DD Crow lethal as well, which is just adding salt to the wound. The next game I play with this deck is against Monad. I am playing, I believe, this deck. Yep, opening hand is very solid. He's playing Vayu. That's what he's playing. Okay, so I open up the Nuts combo, which is Quick Draw, Dandy, Debris. We pitch the Dandy. We go ahead and make Drill Stardust, which is excellent against everything. And then we pitch the Treeborn on top of that, so we have Treeborn Enemy Controller plus Heavy Storm. I mean, this is just a great position to be in against any deck. He does have the Royal Oppression, though, which is the out to this position, more or less. But you'll see he makes a critical error on this turn, or on the following turn that does end up costing him the game. Notice here that he Allures banishes a Sirocco. From my experience playing against Vayu, most of the lists only play 2 Siroccos. I don't think they should only play 2 Siroccos. I personally play 3, but most of the lists only play 2. So that comes into play later. You'll see. He sets Hamster, and he sets Oppression, and Book, and passes. Here is the critical misplay. So what he doesn't recognize is that Stardust can't actually negate this oppression. The reason Stardust can't negate this oppression is because Stardust Dragon only negates and destroys effects that would destroy a card on the field. Royal Oppression isn't negating and destroying anything on the field. It's negating and destroying something that's in the banish zone. It's actually not even destroying it. It's just negating it. So the Stardust Dragon can't even negate the oppression. He thinks that it can because he doesn't really fully understand how Stardust works. He books the Stardust and oppresses the Drill Warrior, but that's huge for us because we got that free book out of here. That would have been a way to kill our Stardust, defend their Hamster or whatnot. Yes, we do lose our Drill Warrior, which sucks, but we're able to flip the Stardust Dragon. And as you can see from our draw, I'm smelling blood in the water, baby. I picked up the Airknight Parshath. This is the perfect tech. This is the perfect tech for this deck. In the standby phase, I forget to bring back Treeborn Frog. In hindsight, this is a mistake. I saw the Airknight Parshath. I got a little bit too excited, so I didn't bring back my Treeborn Frog to sack it. I lose out on one of my tokens as a result. Here, I'm able to attack this set monster with my Air Knight. I'm like, if it's Raikou, I'm drawing a card. I'm negating the Raikou. Everything is looking up. Plus, I've got enemy controller to help protect my Air Knight, guarantee another draw off of it, which is super good. So I deal 100 points of pierce damage here. They grab their Raikou. We go ahead and attack with Stardust. Now they make another misplay here. They don't pop the Stardust. Yes, of course, if they pop the Stardust, we can just Heavy Storm the Royal Oppression in main phase 2. So it wouldn't have made that much of a difference, but at this point in time, it would have forced us to Heavy Storm the Royal Oppression, basically. Whereas now, we don't Royal Oppression the Heavy Storm, or we don't Heavy Storm the Royal Oppression, there we go, and it leaves the opponent locked in a critical turn later on. So they just go for the mill 3, prioritizing the mills, and they do get a value off of it for their treble, so not the worst circumstance for them, but not the best. Here I don't set Mind Crush. Yes, they do play Rhoda and Charge, but the chances of them drawing Rhoda and Charge off the top, if they had either of them, they would have played it on the previous turns. The chances of them drawing it is pretty low, and also I don't want to play into my own Heavy Storm here, basically. So I just set enemy controller to protect my Air Knight. It's basically going to guarantee me like another draw here. They're going to go for Heavy Storm. I'm actually going to negate that with the Stardust Dragon. I think that the Air Knight has high enough value here that they can't really deal with it. They would have to somehow get a Sirocco Engrave, and then on top of that, be able to get another value and another Sirocco Engrave. So they'd have to, like, I don't even know what they'd have to do here. I don't even know what 3 combination of cards they could have in order to play through Air Knight enemy controller. It would be quite difficult. And the fact that they're Heavy Storming their own oppression, it gives me the information that they have something they want to special summon, and that's why they're going for the Heavy Storm. Otherwise, they wouldn't want to clear their own Royal Oppression, as it has a lot of value against this matchup. So for me, it's good to negate here. They normal summon the Sirocco, but again, like, we have this enemy controller, so we can just switch that to defense. Keep in mind, this is their second copy of Sirocco. The other one is in the banish zone already. So they're going to, switch this guy to defense, and then they just have to pass the turn. They can't special Gale because we negated with Royal Oppression, and they've already normal summoned, so they can't normal summon Caius. They pass the turn, and I totally forget that the Stardust Dragon's supposed to come back. They would have paid 800 for Oppression, so it doesn't matter, but in hindsight, I completely missed it. We catch it on a later turn, but yeah, this was a complicated sequence of turns. So I think that it's an understandable thing to miss. He also totally missed it, but yeah, Stardust was supposed to come back there. He would have just paid 800 for Oppression, and we do catch it later on and update the life total. In the standby phase, I bring back Treeborn Frog. I sack it for Caius, banishing his second copy of Sirocco, dealing him an extra 1,000 points of damage, and giving us the attack directly with the Parshath and the Caius. Now, if they hadn't milled a value here, I wouldn't have even had to actually use the Caius. I could have just attacked with the Parshath again and kept them in this really unfortunate position where, like, even if they draw a Raikou or whatever, I can Caius that. Treeborn Frog helps you play into Royal Oppression so much easier than the quick draw decks normally can. So it is a little bit unfortunate we do have to burn our Caius to banish the second Sirocco, but it does put them off of ever using value effect unless they top deck Burial. So we deal the extra 1,000. We attack with both. We get an extra draw off Air Knight. I'm not exactly sure what to find. I find another Upstart. Upstart a little awkward into Oppression. You do give them extra activations. I Upstart here and I find Crow, and I'm like, that's nice. Unfortunately, I do make a misplay here. I should have set Mind Crush on this turn. The downside of me setting Mind Crush here now is actually much lower than the downside of me setting it on the previous turn. Plus, now they do top deck Charge, and I am punished, unfortunately, for my shitty play. This just goes to show you, though, the power of Air Knight Parshath. It got 2 draws. It cleared the hamster, cleared whatever. And then Gale is also forced to target down this Air Knight Parshath. If he leaves the Air Knight Parshath in play, like, it's just going to keep drawing me cards. It's such a powerful threat. It demands an answer immediately. So, forced to use the Gale here, attacks the Air Knight. We take a few points of damage, and then he passes the turn. Here, I honestly should have set the Mind Crush too. I fuck up yet again. I bring back the Treeborn. There's actually no reason not to set the Mind Crush here. I'm like completely blanking on the fact that that this should be in play. But you know, we're able to attack over the Gale, set the Snowman, and sort of try to establish a position. He finds Solemn Judgment, charges for Raikou, and passes the turn. Mills some more Darks, puts himself outside of Dark Armed range. T-sets, and then passes. I pick up Foolish, which is kind of dead at this point. Yeah, we can send Dandy, but we don't even have 2 slots for it, so it's kind of whatever. I just, this is where I catch the Stardust thing not coming back, and I was like, just pay 800, whatever. You would have paid 800 on that turn. It's not a big deal. I Heavy Storm. This is a huge misplay from him. He should definitely not Solemn this. Solemning here locks himself under his own oppression, and also I'm fucking living under this oppression right now. Like, I'm not in a bad spot against oppression. He's actually fucking screwing himself out of potential top decks, like potential whatever, I don't know, Plague Spreader plays or whatever. I think Solemn Judgmenting here is a mistake. It also puts him a little low, just in general. Like, it puts him a little bit close. So, second big misplay from him this game, I think, is Solemn Judgmenting the oppression. The oppression that he himself was trying to clear with Heavy Storm, which is kind of funny. You only have one more activation out of this oppression anyway. It's not worth protecting. It's really not worth protecting. In any case, we switch the Treeborn to attack because if I can get 2 pokes in with it, oppression is completely offline. And I know that that's the Raikou because that's what he charged for. He mills 2 more values, but it doesn't matter because the Sirokkos are gone. So here we are. Main phase 2, I don't set the Mind Crush because at this point, what's the fucking point? Again, getting punished. Just getting fucking punished. I should have said it. The last 3 turns I should have said it. I don't know what I'm thinking. Second game of the day. Man, this is why you test. This is why you practice. And this is also why you reflect upon your games. This is why you look back on things. Because you make plays like this, and in the moment you're just like, yeah, I don't even need to set this Mind Crush. I'm fucking living, bro. But like, it's not, you definitely fucked up here. Definitely made some mistakes. And they're able to trap Dust Shoot our lethal Lone Fire, which is kind of sad. They also get to see our hand, which sucks balls. Attack with the Treeborn. Now they're offline from oppression. They can no longer negate our special summons. They find Raikou. I'm like, nice Raikou, bro. What are you going to do? Pop my snowman? Sure, dog. Now you're under the that's 2-turn clock, baby. 2-turn clock. Dandy Treeborn. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Mill some more action. Attack for 100. Pass the turn. He finds Space Typhoon. Total blank. Oh, shit. Accidental zoom. Wouldn't be a video without the accidental zoom. You have to subscribe. You have to become a member. $2.99 member. Get the emotes. Shout out all the members. Members only tournament coming soon. I've been thinking we got to do a members only tournament. I pick up Brain Control. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Just give me a monster. Can I just close this game out? Like, now it's just like, you feel kind of tense. You're like, I'm going to win this game, but I just need to do it now. I foolish the extra Treeborn to make sure I don't break on it. He goes ahead and he finds a Book of Moon. Keeps him alive an extra turn. I set the second snowman and I pass. And then he does finally end up finding the burial. Thankfully, the main deck DD Crows are going to do some work here and prevents at least one of these value activations. So we're able to DD Crow Sirocco here. He brings out an Armed Wing, sacks it for Caius, banishes the set monster, whatever. I don't give a shit about any of this stuff. I've got brain for game, and that's just how it's going to go down. He makes a little bit of a mistake attacking the Treeborn, but at this point it doesn't fucking matter. We bring back Treeborn in attack because we got to go for the Treeborn lethal, baby. We got to brain the Armor Master and then go for the Treeborn lethal, and then we go into the next game. Feeling good after that win. Even though the opponent did misplay twice, you know your opponents aren't always going to play perfectly, and some of those misplays were like, I could see you making those. The previous game, those misplays were really bad. But these 2 misplays in the last game, the Solemn Judgment and the Book of Moon thing, I could see someone making those mistakes in a tournament. Maybe. I don't know. At least in the early rounds. Shit. I make a mistake in this game, sideboarding. I normally set out both Quick Draw against value, and I side in 2 Cyber Dragons. I didn't do that in this game. In any case, I ended up just getting fucked this game. It's a classic, like, Vayu just has everything game, where we're just super behind from the very start. There's no way I'm ever resolving this Kaiku. Even if I get lucky, I said Dust Torrential, and I'm like, maybe he'll play into the Torrential, I can Dust his lone back row, and then Kaiku can take over. No, motherfucker just plays 6 more back row, and I'm like, all right, I can't do anything. So I just let him play into the Torrential. But at this point, he has Sirocco Vayu online, and we don't have Kaiku in play, and it's just kind of awkward because we couldn't summon Kaiku and back it up with Torrential because we would lose the Kaiku, of course. So here we are. Here we are. Of course, the Armed Wing coming out. Nothing we can do about that. Here, I try to summon Kaiku. It just gets bottomless, and I'm like, yeah, fuck this game. Let's just go to the next one. I just fucking lose. Top Deck's Burial, which is broken as shit. That card should have been banned a long time ago. And they're able to make Stardust. We don't have an out, and we lose the game. Unfortunately, they also have McFucking Book of Moon to stop our enemy controller from being able to clear their whole board. Yeah, they just had everything this game, and there's very little I could have done differently other than sideboard correctly for the next game. Okay, in this game, this hand's so clean. It's so nice. Snowman Eater's so good in this matchup. Air Knight Parshot is just heat. It's just like gets you some fresh draws, runs over the hamsters, runs over the Raikos with value, pressures the opponent right with value. Kaiku's super good here. Start off with set snowman and a pass. If they have like a Sirocco or a Greffer or something, it's going to run face first into our snowman eater. They're going to charge with the light brigade, go find a Raikou, and this is why I fucking hate blind milling. Yes, this is confirmation bias. Yes, I understand this is fallacious logic. Yes, blind milling is very important in a lot of decks. It's the backbone of a lot of strategies. But you see this right here? Now I don't have to play around Torrential. Now I don't got to play around Solemn. This is why fucking blind milling sucks ass. I'm so over it. I'm blind milling pilled. I'm you know what? That's it. I've seen the light. They dust shoot us here. They take the Caius, but we picked up our own dust shoot, which is cash money. His cash money. And here we just have a million threats where like he has to Raikou every one of our cards. And we have 4 cards that he has 1 Raikou for. So we go ahead and summon the Kaiku. I'm like, Kaiku's probably the worst here because he has nothing in his graveyard that I give a shit about. And then I can just dust shoot the next threat or whatever. He mills absolutely nothing. So I'm like, hell yeah. I go ahead and set the dust shoot, pass. I dust shoot away the Raikou. He goes ahead and sets the oppression after slamming his Gale into the snowman, if I remember correctly. Yep, that's exactly what happens. He loses the Gale. And then on our turn, we find Space Typhoon. Since we know that that's an oppression, thanks to Broken Dust Shoot, we can just Typhoon the other one, Air Knight Parshath, and just run over. Run away with the game. Unfortunately for us, Air Knight draws into Titanial, which is super awkward. But they picked up yet another card that... Baby, this you can see the power of Air Knight Parshath here. Once you get to these like low resource state games, even if they top deck Raikou, that's just giving you more pierce damage and more draws off the Air Knight. It's so nice. It's so good in this deck. I don't know why people haven't tried it before. It's fucking great in the Go control decks, which is basically the same thing as Quick Draw, if you think about it. Yeah, Air Knight Parshath runs that over, draws yet another card, and I'm just up so much here. I've got Wind Blast, I've got fucking Dandy Snowman. I'm just living, dude. I'm just living. I actually get him with a nice play on this turn, too. I'm starting to wake up, as you can tell. Second game of the day, and I'm starting to wake up. Raikou's going to pop the Air Knight. They're going to mill Sirocco Vayu. They're going to activate it. I'm like, all right. They had 3 mills this game. They milled a Sirocco and a Vayu. That's about par of the course. They go ahead and attack with the Raikou for 200. They attack with the Armed Wing. Even though they do know about the fucking Gores, I'm like, why would you attack with the Armed Wing here? I go ahead and Phoenix Wing their oppression, lock them out under that. Take the 23 because I pitched Titanial instead of Dandelion. I know a lot of people would have they would have tunnel vision. They would have thought, I have a value target to pitch. I got to pitch the value target. Nah, Titanial's always the pitch here. That's why we do it. And then we're able to drop Gores with a 2300 token. And they're top decking oppression. The only card that could potentially kill us is this card right here. And we have the truth. We have the ways of dealing with it off the top. Bottomless trap hole, baby. We know that that's a value because that's what was in his hand. We switch these two and we just run over these 2 monsters. I think we set Snowman. We might set Dandy. Yeah, we actually set Dandy, which is fine. It's a solid set here. They go ahead and top deck the Royal Oppression. They Burial, try to put their stuff back, try to make the fucking guy, and then we just bottomless that, and the game ends immediately because Dandy can attack over the value we know about, and the other 2 can attack directly for game. So that was a cool game. Game 2 especially Game 3 especially showcased the power of Air Knight Parshath. I think this card is very slept on. I think as a tech 1-of in this deck, it's very good. It helps you, again, like I said, against these Hamster Raikou decks a ton. It also helps you in neutral board states. It also helps you against the Drill Warrior stall mirror match. So if both players have Drill Warriors and you have an Air Knight, you're always winning that race. Not only that, you're piercing over their tokens. You're drawing extra cards. If they ever out your Air Knight, you just get it back the next turn with the Drill. So it's a great card, I think, in this deck, and I hope that showcased it. The next match I played was against Gadgets. I beat the Gadget player. I'm not going to show you that game. It was kind of like he just drew too many gadgets. The next match I played with this deck after that, I think I played against Fairies. Yeah, Fairies. Yeah, this is the next match. It's ST against ST. And ST is playing some unconventional techs in his Fairy deck, and we're gonna talk about some of the plays here because I know the Fairy deck quite well, and I know a lot of you guys like to watch the Fairy deck get covered, so I'm gonna talk about this a lot. First things first, he's playing Goldstark. This is a card that I have tested extensively. Yes, it gives you 2-card combos with Christia and a Recruiter. You can do turn 1 Christia plays with Goldstark. It's very nice, but ultimately, I think it's bad. I think it's bad for a lot of reasons. Not only is it bad for a lot of reasons, but I think the way he uses it in this game is very sus. In any case, we win this match, but we should not have won this match. He goes ahead and sets DD Warrior Lady before activating Gold Sarcophagus. Generally speaking, interesting sequencing. You don't want to set cards before you activate something. I don't know why, but it just makes sense to activate first. I don't know why. I don't know why. He Goldstarks for Chaos Sorcerer. Okay, let's talk about this for a second. First off, Chaos Sorcerer sucks in this deck. It's like just bad. It's worse than Soul of Purity and Light, like every single time, because it's harder to summon, and it's not a fairy, and it's not a light, so you can't back it up with Honest. And the banish effect doesn't even fucking matter. Your whole deck banishes shit. You don't care about that. You just want to have a fairy name. You want to have something that banishes light monsters. You want to have something that's easier to summon. You want to have something that makes Avenging Knight. That whole shenanigans. You don't need Chaos Sorcerer in this deck. It's you're bending over backwards to play a card that's not even really that much of an improvement over Soul of Purity and Light. In any case, also, you shouldn't Goldstark for it here. You should Goldstark for Return. If you look at your hand, you have DD Warrior Lady, you have Dimensional Alchemist, you have Call of the Haunted. That's guaranteed 3 banished cards. Whether or not the Dimensional Alchemist hits a monster or a whatever, who knows? But if you Goldstark for Return, that's 4 spells and traps out of the deck and 3 monsters. That puts you at slightly over 60-40 to mill monster on both of your mills. So let's say you hit 1 monster, and that gives you at least 2 monsters to hit with Return, which is much better than just a random Chaos Sorcerer, which you can't even cast, and likely will be forced to Oppression activate before you can even flip this, or before you can even summon this Chaos Sorcerer. Then he makes another misplay, setting the Oppression here. Don't set the Oppression here. Just don't set it. You don't need to put this into play. You want to get the Call of the Haunted into play first. You want to activate this first before doing anything else. Just don't set the Oppression here. There's no reason to set this. If you're forced to use it this early, you're going to be locking out your own hand, Call of the Haunted, and the Chaos Sorcerer that you Goldstarked for. So it's not a good move. And then if you're setting it now and then setting the Call of the Haunted later, you're playing into Heavy Storm. So huge, tiny mistakes, if that makes sense. Huge, tiny mistakes, and they do add up. They really do add up. These 3 mistakes, they make a big difference this game. Go ahead and set the Phoenix Wing Windblast. Go ahead and pass. The reason I set Windblast and pass is if this is Raikou, that's what you got to do. You just got to set Windblast and pass into Raikou. Fortunately for us, we do get the 2-for-2 off the Blind Typhoon. I am going to go ahead and target, I believe, his monster. I pitch Enemy Controller because Foolish Barrel is most likely going to send Dandelion here to turn on our Mark of the Rose. So Enemy Controller is not that great without Treeborn Frog. We don't have Treeborn Frog. We don't have access to that quite yet. And otherwise, it's just going to be another -1 on top of this Windblast. I'll just take my 2-for-2 and then try to keep up my value this way. He goes ahead and summons nothing and just passes, tries to keep up his Herald. Doesn't even set the Call of the Haunted here, which is interesting. I set the Snowman Eater and I pass. I'm like, Snowman's pretty good in an open board state. He gets the Chaos Sorcerer. The draw for turns the DD Warrior Lady that, of course, we already knew about. It's going to run into the Snowman. He's going to take some damage. They're both going to get banished. And now the Chaos Sorcerer is even light and dark off from being banished. We draw Avarice, which is kind of funny. One of the reasons I liked playing the list with no blind milling is it means you get to play 1 Avarice and you don't get a brick on it. But here we are bricking on the 1 copy of our Avarice in our deck, which is kind of funny. They pick up their Gores. Another reason not to set the Oppression. I'm just saying, dog. I'm just saying, you cuck yourself here. You fucking cuck yourself. Honestly, if you had Search Return, you could have been Dialk, banishing, swinging, doing all this shit. You don't even have to swing. You don't even have to play into Gores. You could just Dialk, activate every turn, get that return going. Maybe hit a Christia. Go for a big return kill through Gores. That's what I'm talking about, bro. That's what I'm talking about. Imagine this was a return. Fuck, this hand would be insane. Okay, we go ahead and Foolish here, send Dandelion, and then they actually activate the Royal Oppression, which I think is just... Why? Let me have the tokens. There's no reason to flip Oppression here. You're cucking your own Chaos Sorcerer and your own Call of the Haunted by flipping this Oppression here. And I'm totally chill with it. I'm like, alright, whatever. This deck plays really well into Oppression because we have Triple Snowman, we have Mark of the Rose, which is like Snatch Steal, we have Treeborn Frog, we have all the ways to play an Oppression with this list. So actually I think Oppression is quite bad against this variation of Quick Draw, which is another reason why I really like it. Find Debris Dragon, I go ahead and set that and pass. They pick up Book of Moon, they pick up Mirror Force, whatever. They set a card and pass. I'm like, come on, bro. Give me a monster I can fucking Caius, bro. Give me a fucking monster I can Caius. I draw, I pass. They draw, they set the Call of the Haunted, they pass. I draw, I find Solemn Judgment, which is kind of nice. I get a little greedy and just decide to go Caius for a back row. I probably should have set Solemn and set up for something like that. I'm thinking I don't want to set Solemn before Gores, but if I can force through this Gores, or force through this Caius with a Solemn backup, then I'm sitting pretty this game. He does end up Herald of Orange Lighting here, and I'm like, why? Why do that? Why protect your Call of the Haunted that is dead under your Oppression anyway? I don't... At least, I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it. Also because you have Heavy Storm. Also because you're most likely going to have to Heavy Storm your own Royal Oppression and Book of Moon. It's like, why protect this? Just keep your keep your dudes, man. Keep your dudes. It does clear the Caius, but whatever. You know, I'm happy if that's where the Herald is going. They are up 2 cards, but they are down in a sense that they have an active Royal Oppression and a Chaos Sorcerer they can't cast, and a Gorz they can't cast, and a Call of the Haunted they can't cast, and a Heavy Storm that's going to 4-for-1 themselves, or 4-for-0 themselves. So they're just in a bad spot. They go ahead and set Raikou, pass. I go ahead and set Mirror Force, pass. They flip the Raikou, pop the Mirror Force here. I actually don't think I would have made that play. If I'm being real, I would have not flipped the Raikou here at all. I would have just left the Raikou set. You don't want to target down the back row here. Or if you do, you want to target your own fucking Royal Oppression. Blow this shit up. Then you can call the Haunted. Then you can do all your other shit. Then you can drop Chaos Sorcerer. Then you can play the fucking game. You don't care about this back row. You can Heavy Storm it away later. Doesn't even matter. But yeah, they do mill, and they go up to 4 fairies, which is actually really gross. Main phase 2, what they should actually do is they should Call of the Haunted, you know, force me to either fucking negate it with Royal Oppression or, you know, do something, make me pay the 800, and then whatever. Not even main phase 2. Main phase 1, they should have done this. They should have called the Haunted, forced me to pay the 800, and special summon Christia after Heavy Storming their own back row. I would have been forced to DD Crow one of the fairies in response to the Heavy Storm, but positionally it's much better. They can book their Raikou in response to the Heavy Storm. There's a million different ways they could have played this turn, but the way they played it is just so weird. We're able to drop Gorz. They don't have the Herald anymore. They do have the out in Mirror Force, but, you know, hey, that's just the way it goes sometimes. We top deck Snowman Eater. That's a great card to find here. There's so much you could say about that last turn. You could write a fucking book on that last turn. That's why the Fairy deck's crazy too, because like you could play it a million different ways, and you can sequence the cards a million different ways, and the right way is not always clear. And that's why I like that deck a lot. Actually, it takes a lot of practice, but in hindsight, they made a really sus play. They do book the Raikou that is able to out the Gorz, but I mean they could have done all this and had the Christie on play and had the fucking Herald in hand. And, yeah, I mean it's just like they didn't even have to deal with the Gorz. They could have had a Christie on play and ignored this completely. You know, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. They lose the Raikou. We go ahead and set Snowman. I'm like, what ifs? Set the Solemn. At this point, I'm just chilling. You know, setting the Mirror Force too awkward because they're gonna want to Heavy Storm their own oppression at some point. You know what I mean? Like, why set the Force there? You don't need to set the Force. The book on the Raikou answers the Gorz alone. There's a million different like micro decisions on the last turn, and I think he made every single one of them wrong, which is crazy. DD Warrior Lady gets summoned. This runs over the token. I'm just like, all right, there goes my 200 boy. I pick up Mind Crush. I go ahead and set that. That might come into play here. They go ahead and attack my Snowman. Yet again, DD Warrior Lady trading with the Snowman, but we're getting life points advantage, which is kind of nice. They are getting monsters banished, which is good for their return once they eventually find it, if they didn't mill it already. Oh, they milled it, so yeah, there you go. Imagine this was the Sork milled instead of the return, and oh, dude, it's just a crazy game. It's a crazy game. It's all these things you see upon reflecting upon them. Pick up not Heavy Storm, Mystical Space Typhoon, which is really good. That's going to help us play through the suppression when we eventually decide to do that. We just passed the turn for now, though. They set Shining Angel. Honestly, I think they should have attacked with the Shining Angel, or not played it at all, or just Heavy Stormed and gone for Christia somehow, or Call of the Haunted. I don't know. Actually, they can't do anything. They have 5 fairies. I forgot they milled a fairy. Never mind. Don't listen to me. I'm capping. Setting Shining Angel is fine here. I probably would have attacked with it, though. We pick up Dandy, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm going for it. Fuck it, I'm going for it. I know about Chaos Sorcerer. I'm like, what else could they have, right? They chain Oppression. We chain Typhoon. Pitch Dandy. We get 2 tokens. He says chain to Dandy. Call of the Haunted. Target Christia. I chain to that. DD Crow. Target the Christia. This banishes the Christia, and the Call of the Haunted in play now locks this Gorz out from being active, but they do go to 4 fairies, and this is something that I am aware of now. You can see here, I have set Mind Crush. I'm prepared, all right? Go ahead and Avarice, target our 5 monsters. I do this before Synchro Summoning. Just a mild sequencing thing. We want to have maximum decision-making information before we decide which Synchro we're going into. 99.9% of the time we're going into Drill here. Let's be real. But maybe we draw something that makes us want to go into Junk Archer. Maybe. And you know what? I probably should have gone into Junk Archer here, all things considered. I probably should have. And then summon this, made Titanial, and then had the Mark of the Rose for lethal. So I think I actually did make a little bit of a mistake by doing this here and just attacking directly. I think I may have played a little bit too passively, all things considered. We could have dealt 51, they would have gone to 500, and then Mark of the Rose plus Solemn is pretty much guaranteed lethal at any point in the game, so yeah, I think I fucked this up. I actually botched this turn upon revision. Pretty big mistake on my end. I'm forced to Solemn Judgment the Mirror Force, but imagine I'm Solemning a Mirror Force with like an actually good like attack pressure here. Like even actually, I guess we could have made Drill Titanium. And I don't know. You get where I'm going with this. You get where I'm going with this. I fucked up. I fucked up this turn. I could have gone for big damage. I didn't. I played like a bitch, and then I go ahead and I pitch the Lone Fire instead, banish the Drill, and set the Snowman. I get 2 Drill Pilled here. I should have played this differently. Super big mistake on my part. They pick up Sky Scourge Endrise. This is basically Chaos Sorcerer, but infinitely worse. This card is fucking terrible. I cannot recommend you including this card in your deck. It does look tight, and that's about it. That's the extent of it. It's just really hard to get online, and the payoff is like a 100 attack points slightly stronger than Chaos Sorcerer. It does have the upside of being a fairy, so you can pitch it to Herald, but that's literally it. You can't even normal summon it. You can't even do anything with it. It's just a weird card. It's a trade-in target, though, which is kind of cool. They do Heavy Storm here. We chain Mind Crush. We know they have 4 fairies, so I'm just going to call Christia because that's what fucking beats us. So we Mind Crush named Christia, and then they flip Shining Angel, attack the token, set their Torrential Tribute, and we're actually kind of getting fucked here. No lie. Despite all of those misplays, because I missed that fucking crucial turn where I should have gone for big damage, I fucking losing. We do get Drill Warrior back, which is nice. We add back the Dandelion. I go ahead and attack directly for 1200. I pitch the Dandy, banish the Drill. He Torrentials the tokens, Snowman, and the Shining Angel, which is an interesting point to Torrential. I guess it's not really getting that much better. I don't think there's a way I could have flipped Snowman without losing my Drill, so I just had to go for it. He does get lucky and top decks the Herald while having a fairy in his hand to be able to use it, so he's able to Herald the Drill here, and we kind of create a parity game state. I set the Treeborn Frog and pass. He finds Raikou, he sets that and passes. I find Lone Fire Blossom, which is actually excellent draw. I go for Titanium in defense because I'm a bitch and don't want to play into his 3rd DD Warrior Lady for no reason, and I don't want to attack into a Shining Angel. He picks up Honest, which is just unfortunate. Here I actually have an interesting decision. I could not negate this Raikou. It would leave him with a body in play, but how much does that body matter? It also mills him 3 cards, which puts him 3 cards closer to deck out. I do know about his Chaos Sorcerer, though, so I think it's best to just negate it and keep him off darks, potentially. We find Upstart Goblin, which is whatever. I mean, game's never about life. It's more about resources. And we find Caius here, which is actually excellent. Caius is going to be really good at dealing with some of these threats. Also notice that the opponent is 27 cards into their deck, and the only dark that they found for this Chaos Sorcerer is Gores. Something that really confuses me about these matches is that he doesn't see any darks. And I'm just like, imagine this was a Soul of Purity and Light. You would have had fucking all the plays in the world. But instead, here we are. Losing the game due to this Chaos Sorcerer being dead in hand. I go ahead and poke with the Treeborn, tickle the Gores, sack for Caius, banish the Gores, get that shit out of my fucking face, deal 1,000 points of damage, pass the turn. They top deck Dialk, which is a beater that's going to couple with their Honest, unfortunately, and put me in an awkward spot too, because if this Dialk ever dies, they can get back, Christia, they can get back DD Warrior Lady, they can get back Gores. It's actually a big problem for me. And Mark of the Rose isn't a clear-cut answer to it either in this moment. So they are going to Honest over the Caius. I am going to lose some life. And here's where the misplays just get insane. They just get so bad. I bring back Treeborn, I set another monster. At this point, you have to realize all 3 Snowman Eater are gone. I am not playing Raikou and Hamster. You can deduce that at this point because I am playing Upstart Goblins and enemy controllers. So not attacking into my monsters is a mistake. He goes ahead and finds Solemn, doesn't activate Alchemist because he's running low on cards in deck, just passes the turn. Go ahead, we find Upstart Goblin. I go ahead and burn the last 2 Upstarts here, give him 2,000 more life points. I find Brain Control, but still not a clear-cut answer to what's going on. He's still not attacking our monsters, though, so I'm actually chill. He finds Sangan, still doesn't attack the monsters. Here's where things are really sus. I mean, just attack with the Sangan. If it's a Hamster, okay, that sucks. You take a little bit of damage, but you're actually pretty high in life total. I get a Raikou, but what is Raikou popping, right? Is Raikou popping the Sangan? All of a sudden, your Chaos Sorcerer is live. Is Raikou popping the back row? Who gives a shit? What do you need Solemn for? You have the winning position. So I think summoning the Sangan and just attacking these 2 monsters puts me on a must-have-it situation. I find Torrential, but Torrential's not even good for me because if I ever Torrential this board, he can drop Chaos Sorcerer and just kill me on the spot. So I need to find something in addition to this torrential to really win. And he finds yet another monster he could summon in this position. He could summon the other Dialk. He could attack all of my stuff, but he just doesn't do it. I don't know why. There's nothing in the game that punishes you for flipping Sangan and Dialk and just attacking my monsters here. Especially now that I have a back row that I can't bring back Treeborn Frog underneath. So it's just a huge mistake. Clearly not recognizing at this point in the game that he needs to be the beatdown person. He is losing on the resource fight. He has only 8 cards in deck and I have 13. And I am winning on the resource fight. But he is winning on the life points fight. So if he can just get in one more attack here, I mean, he wins the game immediately on the spot. So I think he definitely missed an opportunity for lethal. He has Solemn Judgment for the back row even. Like, you can't really go wrong with this. I mean, the only thing is if you're afraid it's a hamster. That's the only thing. And if it's a hamster, I mean, like, who cares? It's not even bad for you. It's literally not even bad for you if it's a hamster. Like, you're just like, okay, you get a Raikou. What are you going to do with that Raikou? What are you going to do with it? It forces me to go lower in my deck. I take a hamster, or I take a Raikou out. That's 1 card and 3 more cards. And all of a sudden, I'm closer to decking out than I would like to be. I go ahead and brain control the Dialk. I'm going to sacrifice it for quick draw. I'm going to synchro into Turbo Warrior. This is going to eat a Solemn Judgment. At this point in time, I'm looking kind of fucked. No cap. But you know what? He still doesn't attack me. And I'm just like, all right. Don't attack me. Let me just set my Botanical Girl and we can chill the fuck out. And now, finally, I do find Dandelion, which defends me through Torrential, which is nice. And I'm able to take control of this game and inevitably win. It blows my mind that he didn't do this earlier and he eventually just goes for it here. I don't understand. You had 6 turns. You had 6 turns you could have attacked me and won the game, which is crazy. It's crazy because this is a suboptimal fairy list playing fucking Sky Scourge Endrise, and I would have got fucking rocked by it. And in the back of my mind, I am keeping this. I'm keeping mental notes. I'm like, I would have got fucking rocked by this shitty fairy list. I probably need to keep that in mind if I'm going to consider this deck for serious tournament play. At this point in time, I top deck Gores. I'm like, fuck me. That sucks. I'm at 650, but I can at least double tribute for Gores and try to go for game with this Mark of the Rose and the Botanical Girl. I go ahead and activate the Mark of the Rose, steal the Dimensional Alchemist, and his set is a bluff, and thankfully he does not have anything to protect himself. The token not being in attack position to at least threaten and honest, but no, nothing. We're just able to attack entirely for game and take that game 1. That was a grindy game, and it was only won because my opponent made a lot of mistakes. This game I get fucking rocked by Christia, if I remember correctly. I just get absolutely body bagged by a Christia. Yeah, there's a couple of questionable plays in this game too, but not much I can do against Christia, more or less. This hand is fucking insane. Give me this hand any day of the week and I'm murdering folks. I'm murdering them. Gets a little greedy, summons the DD Warrior Lady, but that's not too bad. I mean, Dialk, add back Dialk. In this case, he does Rose, what is it? Not Rose. Tunnel Visions. And he grabs back the Doom Caliber to try and turn on his Sky Scourge. I'm like, bro, your Sky Scourge is not winning you this game. The fucking Dialks randomly pinging me are. This Doom Caliber Knight's terrible in the face of Treeborn Frog, and it just doesn't make sense to add it back. But that's what he goes for here. Doesn't really matter since we're just fucking dying to like double Honest Herald anyway every day of the week. This is such a fucking stupid hand. He finds Deep Prison. We Dust Tornado it. We attack into Honest. Get fucked. I'm forced to Foolish Dandy to protect my life total. On his turn, he charges the Light Brigades, finds Raikou, mills his Dark Fiends, is able to summon his Sky Scourge Inrise, and clears both our tokens. At this point in time, I bring back my Treeborn Frog, and I'm like, maybe I can bait the Herald. I'm going to go ahead and brain control Sky Scourge Endrise, try to banish the Nova Summoner, baits the Herald, which is very nice for us. They do pitch Honest too, which is fucking awesome. And then we sack the Treeborn for the Caius, and we're able to attack directly for 24. I set Deep Prison. Maybe I don't get rocked by Christia this game. Maybe I just fucking win. They find Sangan. Yeah, maybe I just win this game. I don't remember. Why would you set Sangan here? Just set Raikou. Oh, I do win this game. Oh, I'm remembering it now. I lose to Christia the next match I play with this deck. We'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, no, this game he makes a mistake. He just doesn't set Raikou and loses the game. So Raikou is a removal spell, right? Raikou is your way to poke at positions and break them up, loosen them up, make sure they are primed for you to go for game. So the game shot here for the opponent, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's deal 4,000. That's all you got to do. You got to figure out a way to deal 4,000 through the threats. I don't set any follow-up back row, and here he gets a little antsy. He summons Doomcaliber Knight. This is so fucked. This loses to every back row. On the spot, loses to every back row. Brain control here loses to everything. It just loses to everything. Loses fucking everything. Loses to Mirror Force, loses to Torrential, loses to Bottomless, loses to fucking... It just loses the game on the spot. All you have to do if you're ST, now that you have the brain control, I'm at 4,000. Set the Raikou. Set the Raikou. On my turn, I draw a card. I attack the Raikou. Don't pop the Caius. Pop the back row. Then on your turn, Brain, Doomcaliber, go for game. You got to see how Raikou breaks up these positions. You died with a Raikou in hand, and you died to a card that Raikou could have popped very easily from your position. At this position, you just end up losing to Deprison on the spot. Deprison the Doomcal, and then we attack directly with Caius and win the game. So the game I played after this match was very tilting for me, because I noticed their list, and I'm like, their list is suboptimal. I don't think Doomcaliber is that bad. I actually have 2 Doomcalibers in my fairy list right now as well. But I do think Skyscourge and Rise is mid. I do think that Chaos Sorcerer is mid. I think both those cards are bad. And we should have lost both these games. So as a testing thing, I'm like, okay, the first game against Quick Draw, Destiny Hero Plasma, whatever, we should have lost. The third match, we should have lost against this Doomcaliber Fairy match. And then this is the fourth match. I'm not counting the Gadget match as a real one. And then the fourth match, I end up playing against like some Mausoleum Christia deck, and he just has Mausoleum Christia both games, and I draw 6 monsters. So I'm just like, okay, game 1 and game 3 I draw 6 monsters, or I think game 2 and game 3 I won game 1, and I'm just like, I can't beat a Christia, so that's what happens. And I'm like, I'm gonna table this Quick Draw deck. There's a lot of really good ideas here. There's, I really like the Treeborn and Botanical Girl. I like the way they play into Oppression. I'm not sure if 2 Botanical Girls is correct or 1, but I do like the inclusion of that. I do like the Upstart Goblins. I really liked the Mind Crush, and I really liked the Air Knight Parshath in the games where I drew it. I like these ideas. Some of the other ideas I think are kind of weaker. I think the Mark of the Rose and the Enemy Controller, maybe just one or the other. Maybe I don't need both. And then I'm thinking maybe I need a little bit more Dust Tornadoes in the sideboard. Maybe I can cut the Water Art. I think the Water Art is getting a little too cute. In any case, this is a deck I'm tabling for the time being. I don't think I have enough time to test it before the 4th in order to accurately get it where I want it to be, but it is a deck that I think has a lot of potential. At this point in time, I'm like, I've played 5 matches with it. I went 4-1, which is good, but if you consider it like according to the opponent's misplays, I would have gone 2-3. So that's not a great showing for a deck. It's not a great showing for a deck, honestly. And it's a cool deck, don't get me wrong, and it's a deck I would love for it to do well, but it's not. So I decided to pick up the Burn deck, because I'm like, I've been testing this Burn deck. I think that this is a few improvements on the Frog Slicer list. You guys saw the list at the beginning of the video. And I get paired against Dragon of the West, which, by the way, is a fucking fire username. I've played against this guy 3 times now, I believe. And he beat me the first 2 times, and I'm like, bruh. I saw he was hosting a game, and I'm like, all right, now's my fucking time. I'm going to load up Burn. I'm going to get this motherfucker. I'm going to get him. I have his name. I'm like, I got to beat this guy at least once. Fire username, by the way. Avatar The Last Airbender, based show. Absolute Kino. Who said cartoons couldn't be Kino? Absolutely based. And the Uncle Iroh is like my favorite character in that show too. So, super fire. He is playing the Carpath deck. He's got a lot of tools to deal with Burn, but I do get to start with the White Rabbit, which is one of the coolest cards. This is like one of my favorite artworks on a Yu-Gi-Oh card ever. It just looks so fire. It looks like something out of Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, straight up. It looks like something that's out of that era of like, graphic novel design. Opening hand is fantastic. We just set Scapegoat and pass. Don't need to get too cute setting a lot of these cards. I don't want to be reckless locked this early in the game. We don't have a lot of ways to deal damage. We're just going to wait for the opponent to do some shit, basically. They go ahead and summon Giant Rat. They attack me, and I'm like, all right, whatever. If your opponent doesn't know you're on Burn, you can just chill out for a few turns while you draw into your lethal Burn, basically. And that's usually what I do a lot of the times game 1 in the dark, is I just chill out for a few turns. Of course, I do have the White Rabbit, and I do want to deal 700 here, so I'm going to take this opportunity to deal 700 with my White Rabbit. He doesn't solemn it. Smart move, obviously, because paying 4,000 versus losing 700. Quite a big differential. And at this point in the game, I think there are some interesting moves that Dragon of the West could have considered. I think the biggest one is try to get this Debris Dragon online ASAP. I think maybe set the Debris Dragon this turn, plays around Ojama Trio a fair bit, or summon the Debris Dragon. Fuck it. You know, just get it into play. You want to get Ancient Fairy Dragon online as soon as possible. Ancient Fairy Dragon gains you life points against the burn deck. It puts you in a position where you can't actually lose. You'll see a lot of times with the burn deck, you deal almost exactly 8,000. If you gain even a little bit of life points against the burn deck, it's very difficult for them to win. He goes ahead and attacks with the Giant Rat, I believe. Oh no, he goes ahead and makes Ancient Gear Dude. This, I think, is a little bit worse than summoning Debris Dragon first. It plays into Ojama Trio, which is not a happy place you want to be into. But they go ahead and try to attack, start battle phase. I make Scapegoat, and he kills 2 of my tokens. I'm like, all right, that's fine. Then he sets the card Trooper main phase 2. Now, Ceasefire just desserts, looking fresh. We pick up Poison the Old Man. So as of right now, we've got 3,000 points of burn, 4,000 points of burn, 4,800 points of burn, which is pretty good. 4,800 points from this position, that's potentially lethal. As long as we can get in this White Rabbit attack, that puts them at 5,500 points of burn, and then he has 1,800 life points left. We have 2 draws off of Reckless Greed to find 1,800 points of burn. Can we do it? Also, is the White Rabbit going to connect a third time? Who knows? Maybe. If it does, then we only need to find 1,100 points of burn. If we are also able to activate Ceasefire with the White Rabbit in play, then we only need to find 600 points of burn. So I'm going to go for the maximum amount of damage here. I'm going to summon the White Rabbit. I'm going to attack for 700. I'm going to set some of my shit. I'm not going to activate Tremendous Fire. And the reason we hold Tremendous Fire is not only does it start chain links for us here in the future if we need an extra chain link for our chain strikes off the top, but also we don't want to put him too low quite yet. If one of our draws is Meteor of Destruction, we want to draw that before we put him below 3,000 life points. So we go ahead and just set everything and end phase return the White Rabbit to our hands. He correctly does not summon any more cards into this shit, but basically just flips the Trooper, attacks the token. I go ahead and use Poison Wabaku and just deal 800 here. The Poison's not getting better than this 800, and I just wanted to clear up a back row space. I honestly could have just Wabaku'd, but I wanted to just deal this 800 here up front and see if he had anything to stop us at this point in time. I go ahead and summon the White Rabbit. I attack for 700. I poke for 700 here. And at this point in time, I do use the Tremendous Fire and the other cards. I probably should have been a little bit more passive on this Tremendous Fire, but I did want to try and go for game. Is this game? No. I should have maybe Reckless. I should have sequenced this a little differently. I should have Tremendous Fired after Reckless. I should have Reckless first. If I was going to Reckless anyway, I should have Reckless first. So this is actually a misplay in hindsight. I should have Reckless and then done all the other shit, basically. But he lets the Reckless resolve despite having Solemn, which is kind of crazy. Maybe he's hoping to Solemn the White Rabbit because he has no other way to answer it. I could see that. We find Accumulated Fortune and Dimension Wall. We're able to set both of those. And we do find Battle Fader, which can buy us at least one turn out of this Reckless lock. He is going to sack for Kuraz. Kuraz is going to pop itself in the field spell. Another thing I might have considered is leaving the Black Guardian in play. If we summon the White Rabbit, it weakens it and it buys him an extra turn. But he just goes for the draws instead, and he finds a main deck Royal Decree. So this is actually really fucking scary for us, because if the White Rabbit gets stopped and the Royal Decree happens, then we fucking lose. Straight up, because we're Reckless locked. So this is turn 1 of Reckless Lock. He attacks over the 2 tokens. And I'm just like, okay, I just gotta pass. Maybe I can Dimension Wall this Card Trooper. Who knows? I summon the White Rabbit. He does use the Solemn Judgment, drops to 300 life points. And I'm just like, fuck, man. If he had made a fucking Ancient Fairy at any point this game and gained that extra 1,000, it would be impossible for me to win this game. As it stands right now, I can top deck a couple of different things to win this game. I've got 2 more Tremendous Fires. I've got Poison of the Old Man. I've got 2 more Chain Strikes. And I think that's just about it through Royal Decree. I think we just fucking lose through Royal Decree. He goes for the attacks this turn directly. We can actually afford to take this. I go for Dimension Wall. he negates it with Royal Decree. And that's some fucking pre. If I've ever seen it, that's some fucking pre, ladies and gentlemen. That's so disgusting. You hate to see this gross, filthy pre. And then we take the 3,000 because, you know, we can save the Battle Fader for next turn. This is 2 out of 2 for Reckless. They attack with the Ancient Gear. I drop Battle Fader. I have one more top deck. Can I do it? Picks up a second Royal Decree. Do we punish the dirty double decree pre-user, or are we going to game 2 0-1? Is that really how we're gonna go down? Game 1 to decree against Dragon of the West after I'm 0-2 in matches to this motherfucker with a fire ass username. Is that really how it's gonna go down? Absolutely not. I top deck Poison the Old Man. Got him. Let's fucking go. Game 2. So lucky. I think we sequenced this game very well, except for the one turn where I should have Reckless before Tremendous Firing, but I think we sequenced this game very well. I think it ended up working out, and we got rewarded, and we deserved to top deck this and win the game immediately, so that's how it goes. Game 2. Game 2, I side in the Cyber Dragons, and I do believe I side in the Breakers and the Space Typhoon for the Royal Decree as well. So that's kind of what I've got coming in for Game 2 here. As you can see, we top deck Meteor of Destruction. This card's just based. 1,000 points to the face. Doesn't get much cleaner than that, baby. Doesn't get much cleaner than that. They have double McFucking Dust Tornado. It's going to be tough to win this one. In fact, it's so tough that I believe I concede after I get double dusted here, and he just goes for the fucking Lone Fire into Titanial, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm over this shit. We're going to the next game. In the next game, kept the sideboard the same. This time we've got the FTK in our hand. Morphing Jar, baby. This card's so fucking nasty. Go ahead and Meteor of Destruction. Go ahead and set our 3 cards and set the jar. I'm like, what can you do? What can you do against such reckless greed? In any case, they find the Bree Dragon. They can maybe try to set up for the Ancient Fairy life gain lines, maybe, potentially. No, just a T set and a pass, and I'm like, oh, baby, I get a Dust Tornado, your card. I get a Dust Tornado, you, and then I get a fucking Summon Breaker, and then I get a Flip Morphing Jar. Let's fucking go. And the Morphing Jar is going to get an attack in. Oh my goodness. Just a disgusting sequence for us. Disgusting. And we find another breaker. In case this breaker gets outed and they do have Decree, we have another breaker to break their Decree, which is just exactly what we want here. Morphing Jar attacks directly for 700, getting in that crucial extra few points of damage for this deck. Every point matters for this deck. Literally every point. You saw in the last game. Every point of damage matters. Main phase 2, I just said it all. I'm like, what can they do? He finds Injection Fairy Lily. That's a fire card, by the way. I might want to include that in this deck. Maybe I should include that in this deck. That card's fucking based. Goes for Heavy Storm, and then I hit him with a fat Chain Link here. Just chain everything. He takes 500. He takes 1,400, so 1,900, and then he takes 2,400. Takes 4,300 total. Just in an awkward spot. Actually, he takes more than that because the poison. Am I miscounting here? I am miscounting. I'm missing not only the Morphing Jar, but the Poison Burn as well. So he takes an extra 1,300. He drops all the way to 700, which is just like, yeah, you know what's up here. That's why Morphing Jar is an FDK in this deck. It's just guaranteed lethal. We have two ways to go for game, and he has no ways to protect himself. So that's going to be that. Basically just going to summon the White Rabbit after Chimera teching away his dude, and that's going to be that, pretty much. Take the dude, make the Chimera Tech, attack directly. GG's Dragon of the West. I'm still losing record to you. You still have a fire username, but I was able to crush you with my burn strategy. And I'm actually feeling pretty good again about this burn strategy. So I go ahead and get a second game with it. And this game is against Cousin. Cousin is playing a zombie deck, I believe. And I'm playing the burn deck. His opening hand is very slow. And thankfully for us, it's very slow because we were able to, just play that same sort of slow game that we had in the last game. And this is another thing I like about burn too, is if your opponent starts even remotely slow, like let's say they have like Raikou or something, or they're setting hamsters or whatever, you get extra turns to find extra burn spells, and it's really solid in those positions. Against faster starts, not so much. It kind of struggles there, but against the slower decks, it does really well. I think I might need a Mirror Force in this deck too. I gotta make a mental note. Mirror Force and Injection Fairy Lily, 2 cards I want to try out. Okay, at this point in time, I go for the Rabbit attack. It does run into Deep Prison. What can you do? And I just set nothing and pass, I think. No, I set everything and pass. My bad. For some reason, I thought I would set nothing here, but yeah, start still slow. He has all the zombie cards. Only thing that's kind of unconventional is the giant Trunade, but he just has no engine, so he's forced to pass. We top deck Magic Cylinder, we just passed. He top decks another Caius, very unlucky. We top deck Cyber Valley, and I'm like, maybe he hasn't played anything because he's maining Cyber Dragon. So I kind of don't set the Cyber Valley, or summon the Cyber Valley here. I just set the Typhoon, or not Typhoon, the Cylinder and pass. He finally finds Sangan, which is going to be great for him here. We find Wabaku, and I'm like, all right, we'll just pass. He sacks the Sangan, or no, he flips the Sangan, sacks it for Caius. This gives us 2 fat chain links to add on to our Chain Strike, which is just great. Just absolutely great. We're going to go ahead and chain, just desserts, accumulated fortune, but unfortunately for us, he does have the Solemn Judgment. But also, fortunately for us, because he pays 3,500 life points to stop it. So I'm like, now it's going to be pretty easy to kill him. From this point, if the Cylinder resolves, we immediately win. So just going to lean into the Cylinder. He doesn't elect to Trunade us at all. He just searches for Spirit Reaper and attacks and immediately loses to the Magic Cylinder, Poison to the Old Man combination. He says burn is actually pretty good in Edison, and I said it's a little fragile. And I do think it is a little fragile. You saw the game where we got double dusted. We just fucking lost. But in the games where that doesn't happen, you can squeak out some really close victories, and I think it makes for some really fun games. It's pretty balanced. There's only 2 Chain Strikes, 1 Ceasefire, and 1 Cylinder, 1 Ojama Trio, that kind of stuff. There's not a large amount of great cards for the burn deck, but I think there's just enough for it to be a little bit overplayable. Goes ahead and finds his Dust Tornado. His hand is very fucking good this game. We just fucking lose this game. We do get the Breaker pop, which is really nice, actually. This is exactly why we board in the Breakers over the Cyber Valleys, and we do get the 1,600 points of damage in, which is huge. This is such a great start for us. It just sucks that we kind of run a little bit soft and end up losing to some early aggression and an OTK turn from the opponent. We're just not able to find the last few points of burn, which sucks. It just happens sometimes. We go ahead and set 4. He goes ahead and he Foolishes Plague. He Heavy Storms. I'm forced to chain at this point. I'm only getting 500 out of my Ceasefire, which is just slightly under enough to be able to kill him. So we deal 1,300, and then we draw 4 cards, and I'm like, damn, these 4 cards need to deal... Okay, so they take 13, they go to 51. I have Tremendous Fire, which puts them to 41. I need to deal 4,100 damage with 4 cards. It can maybe be doable, but through Bryonic and Dark Armed, it's fucking impossible. At this point, I'm like, fuck, man. Dimension Wall Magic Cylinder is so bad in this matchup. Maybe I should just side them all out. And so for game 3, I actually do side them all out. He messes up his OTK here, but it doesn't even end up mattering. I mean, once he gets the fucking Dark Armed in play, it's just game. It doesn't even matter. There's not much we can do at that point. I get a White Rabbit attack in, which is still fighting that good fight, but not quite enough to make anything happen here. I Tremendous Fire. I could have Tremendous Fire Chain Strike, but I was a little bit nervous about him being able to just make Bryonic and bounce our last 2 cards and then kill us. So what happens here is he does, Bryonic, I Chain Strike, and then he drops Dark Arms, or he Bryonics, then he drops Dark Armed, and I'm just like, so fucked. I'm Reckless Locked for another turn. There's nothing I can do. I am forced to Fader this turn. I'm missing another draw step, and I'm just forced to T-set, and I lose this game. Game 3, I do make the correct decision, I believe, to side out Magic Cylinder and all 3 Dimension Walls in this matchup, because if they're ever killing me, they're going for Bryonic, they're going for Caius, or they're going for Dark Armed, which are super good against those cards specifically. And if they're not killing me, I mean, they're going for Thought Ruler, which stops Magic Cylinder. So definitely good to side those cards out. And I think I brought in Jester Comfy and like 2 Cyber Dragons, and then I think I brought in some Caiuses too to try and poke at their stuff. This game, my hand is pretty good, but I think it can be better. I just set my cards and I pass. They draw Pyramid Turtle, they attack me, and I'm like, alright, we can play a slow game. I find Meteor of Destruction, I'm like, fuck, I back row locked myself. So I just draw go again. Hits for 1,200. Draw go again. Fuck it. He's not making any plays. If I'm him, I'm alluring away the scores ASAP. Straight up. I'm putting more monsters into play. I'm putting this diva into play. I'm making some plays. Against Burn, you gotta get aggressive, dude. You gotta play the fucking game. Put this Wind Blast down here. Wind Blast something. Make some moves, Alright. Still just poking with the turtle. I'm like, alright. Here I'll just go for everything. Might as well. Next turn I'm gonna draw up to, I believe, 6 or 7 cards. 7 cards after the accumulated fortune resolves. This is going to hit him for 2,500 and this full huge secret barrel, which is, I believe, 1,800. So it's going to be a full 4,300 points of damage. Big turn for us. Big turn for us. Very, very big turn for us. And then we top deck into Tremendous Fire, and we had the Meteor, so that's 2,000 points, puts him to 17. Secret Barrel is just short if he makes some plays this turn. Unfortunately for us, he does have ways to interact with our back row. So even though we do set these cards, these ways to interact with our back row spend his cards and make our Secret Barrel worse, which is a little bit disconcerting. It's a little bit disconcerting, and we only have so much time here, right? Because we're actually pretty low, and our only stop is this Threatening Roar. So, well, I guess we have Battle Fader too, but here he Phoenix Wing Wind Blast hits with the Reckless Greed, which is really gross hit. It shuts us back for another 2 turns fully, and we lost the Threatening Roar. So we lost one of our pieces of defense. We're going to be forced to use this Fader on this turn, and then maybe we just fucking lose, you know? Maybe the game just ends. But yeah, I think if he had played a little bit more aggressively this game, we would have lost this game for sure, and probably lost this match. So at this point, I'm like, I don't know if I can really continue to play this burn deck. We Secret Barrel here. Maybe I should have waited for it. I just wanted to get for the maximum 1,200 points of damage. I'm thinking if I hit for 1,200, at least Just Desserts will be lethal off the Reckless Greed. He swings with Caius, or he goes for Malicious. He goes for Plague, stacks the Diva. Synchros here into Thought Ruler attacks. I'm forced to Battle Fader. And then on our turn, we top Reckless Greed. He tops Diva, and then he doesn't play it. He doesn't go for game, which I think is really sus. If he went for game, we would have had to top deck into a Fader, which we weren't able to do. But since he doesn't go for game, we're able to wait and get an extra draw step towards killing the opponent, and we wouldn't have top decked the Fader you see here. So if he had summoned the Diva, we would have just fucking lost. But we do find it. The third draw down, the Just Desserts, exactly what we needed. We set 3 to insulate against Dust Tornado and whatnot, and here we're just able to flip the Just Desserts for game. Nice. Nice. Burn W. 2-0 with Burn. I'm a little bit shaky on it after this match with the zombies. I'm a little bit shaky on it in general. I think it's just a little bit too tight of a margin against most of the meta decks. I think Black Wings just kills you too quickly. Vayu just kills you too quickly for the deck to be too good right now. I'm not super sold on it. I've played a lot of matches with it in the last few days. I played 2 with it today, and I think I'm gonna set it aside and focus on a different deck. And the different deck I'm gonna focus on is the Insect deck. And this is the last replay I'm gonna show you guys in today's video. This is me playing the Insect deck, and I think this deck is fucking sweet. This deck is just Pog champion in every way. Also, I like this replay because Salty Baboon's deck also looks very cool. In my opening hand, I have the Arsenal Bug. I really like this Arsenal Bug. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. He has huge stats. He's 3 stars. He rewards you for playing the game. He rewards you for summoning more monsters. And I also like this Pierce Damage Cross Sword Beetle. This card is very sweet too. This game is a good one. I opened Solemn Judgment, so I mean that's a power card in this deck. Generally speaking, in these sort of beatdown decks, Solemn Judgment is your best card. You don't care about your life points. You just care about the massive swings you get from being able to Solemn something. On my turn, I find the Beetle. I go ahead and summon the Beetle. I swing. He deprisons. I let that resolve. The Beetle is pretty low value here anyway. It's worse than both the Sword Beetle and the Kawaki Beetle is worse than the Sword Beetle and the Arsenal Bug, so I do that. I pick up Maneater Bug, Legend of Blue Eyes Classic. One of my favorite cards. The art on this is just so drippy. It's so like 90s hacker like vibes. I love Maneater Bug. It just reminds me of like a computer virus. It's so sick. This card is so tight. Any deck that gets to play this card, it immediately has my heart. Here I'm going to summon the Arsenal Bug. He's going to try to Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. I'm going to say, fuck that shit. I'm going to Solemn Judgment that. You're not Phoenix Winging anything. You're taking Pierce damage, buddy. And he takes the full 1,400 Pierce damage, searches for Krebins, attack directly for 1,800. What can you do? Oh, okay, you have Gores. Fuck. At least we have Mirror Force for Gores, so not the end of the world. He is going to switch the Gores and the token, try to attack our monsters, and run face first into Mirror Force. Get fucked. He goes ahead and summons Krebons and passes the turn. He could have summoned the Krebons, brain controlled, and tried to synchro here, but that would have played into both our Bottomless and our Lair Wire. On this turn, I actually make a really cool play that I think is a little bit underrated. I go ahead and summon the Kawaki Beetle. I attack the Krebons with all of my monsters, dealing him 2,400 points of burn, and then I actually don't reveal to the beetle in the end phase. Not only does this conceal the information about Maneater Bug in my hands, but it turns on our lair wire. So now I actually have 2 pieces of interaction instead of the one that I had before. I think this is a better play. We already have enough lethal threats to go for game over the next few turns, and I just want a second trap card to make sure we can do stuff through both the Plague and a different synchro. Like if he goes summon Goblin Zombie, synchro into Bryonic, priority whatever, we can chain whatever he targets, and then we still have another piece of interaction for the, Mizuki and Plague follow-up synchro. So we have 2 pieces of interaction here as opposed to the one that we would have had otherwise. He goes ahead and summons Zombie Master, foolishes the Mizuki, goes Mizuki for Plague, brain controls, targets the Arsenal Bug. Here he doesn't realize that the Arsenal Bug is 3 stars instead of 4 stars. He tries to make Bryonic up front, but I'm like, nah, that motherfucker is 3 stars. And that's why I like him. Look at that shield. That's a cool little shield. This guy looks like a Dali artwork. Literally looks like an AI generated bug, but you know what? I still love him. I still love this little bug. That's my guy. That's my dog right there. Bottomless Trap Hole, the Ally of Justice Catastor. Here he makes Bryonic, and I'm like, priority, and he's like, yeah, and he pitches, bounces my Crossword Beetle. Here, I want to see what I top deck. If I top deck Jirai Gumo, I want to attack directly with that. I just let him hit me for 23, but I top deck another Crossword Beetle. I'm like, damn, I would have liked to Jirai Gumo attack for game, but instead we will Crossword Beetle attack for game. And he said, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, Lair Wire is fucking crazy. This card is probably one of the best trap cards in the format. It's straight up Infernity Break. It's fucking disgusting. It's very, very good. Game 2. Game 2. I've brought in my Oppression. I've brought in my Rivalries, I believe, and I think that's it. I left in my Brain Control. This was kind of a mistake. I don't think I should leave in Brain Control in this matchup, and I'm actually not even sure if Brain Control should be in this deck at all. It's really only here to go for game, which is not bad, but it's just not good. It's okay. It can deal some damage if you get in a bunch of punches with the Piercer dudes or something like that. Maybe you get in a bunch of early damage, you can get a Brain Control lethal setup, but I don't know if it should still be in this deck. It's obviously very bad here. Here he shows his hand a little bit. He pitches Krebens to send Goblin Zombie, kind of telling me that he has a Book of Life, basically. And also kind of tells me that he has a Forbidden Tech in his deck that I'm going to talk about here in a second. He sets Bottomless Trap Hole. We find Lair Wire, which is normally really good, except for Bottomless Trap Hole is going to banish our dude, which fucking sucks. So I'm like, damn, that sucks. We lose our Beetly boy. And now we're just kind of down bad. We just have to set everything and pass. I set the Brain Control as a bluff in case he goes for a Blind Typhoon or something. And he picks up his super forbidden tech, which is Telekinetic Powerwell. This is a card I talked about in the previous video. And you can see here, Salty Baboon's already adapted a totally new list, trying to take advantage of this card as a soul charge for multiple tuners. I really like what he's doing here with it. I think this is such a cool, unique way to exploit this card as a just really, really strong multi-reborn. You can use Dark Grepher to set up your graveyard with a bunch of Krebons, bunch of Psychic dudes, and then bring them back as kind of a jank little diva, but you can do it also to defend yourself. Krebons is a better card than Deep Sea Diva in general. It's a dark. You can E-Telly for it, lets you play E-Telly. I think he might be onto something with this list. I think this is actually cash money. He goes ahead and activates the Grepher, pitches Plague, sends Krebons, attacks for 1,700, sets Dust Tornado. I'm forced to set the Spider. I'm just going to keep getting beat down by this Grepher. I need to out it with Lair Wire ASAP. He attacks the Spider. I top deck DD Crow. I sided in my DD Crows as well. And then he foolishes, sends Malicious, goes for Book of Life. I chain Oppression. He tries to chain Dust. I'm forced to solemn this because everything that's going on in the graveyard is just too much if my Oppression is not face up. At this point in time, I could Crow the Malicious. It's probably not getting much better than that, but I'm thinking I might save it for Plague. I'm not sure. He attacks with Grepher. I Lair Wire the Grepher because I can't keep taking damage or else my Oppression is going to be useless. And that's it. He just passes the turn. I pick up D-Prison, which is okay. I set and I pass. Picks up Wind Blast. He sets that. That's going to be able to out the Oppression. I pick up Starlight Road. Very awkward to have alongside the Royal Oppressions. In Game 3, I make the correct decision of siding the Starlight Roads out, keeping in the Oppressions. He goes ahead and goes for Telekinetic Powerwell, chain Royal Oppression. I chain DD Crow on one of the Krebens, but he's able to just put together a nice little turn here where he maliciouses out, and I'm like, okay, Okay, yeah, that's cool. You're gonna make a synchro? Please make a synchro. Please synchro, bro. Please. Please. No, he doesn't synchro. I'm forced to deprison the Krebens because I can't take that damage. And he's able to stick around with this Mally in play. We top deck the Oppression again because it was Wind Blasted. And I'm like, fuck. If he just switches the Mally, I just fucking lose. And that's exactly what he does. Pretty much. I top deck Maneater Bug, which might buy us an extra turn, but nah, he just has what he needs. He has the Greffer here. He's able to summon that. We bottomless it. He attacks the Maneater Bug, pops the Malicious. He's like, nice Maneater Bug, bro. And then, yeah, we top deck the Crossword Beetle, but unfortunately he has Wind Blast for it when he just decided to go for a game. Summons the Dark Greffer, attacks, Battle Step, Wind Blasts, and there's nothing we can do about that at that point. We've fucking lost. Game 3. Now, Game 3, there's a powerful technique I utilize in Game 3. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate the power of DD Crow as a hand trap here. Okay, I've started off with Arsenal Bug. Unfortunately, I don't have another insect monster alongside the Arsenal Bug, so I'm forced to set it and set all my trap cards as defense. Hopefully, I can find a bug in the next turn and have a 2000 boy. On his turn, he top decks Malicious, shitty draw. Greffer can convert it though. Return, actually fucking insane in this deck. This deck just looks so fucking sick. It's like Teledad, but like graveyard Teledad, and it just looks so fucking sick. I might try this out and play this for the event because it looks so sweet. Telekinetic Powerwell. Buy him now. Buy him now. This card, I think it only has one printing, so buy it now. Attacks with the Krebons. I am forced to deprison to protect my bug, and unfortunately, that does kind of set up for his return. Multiple different fun little soul charge type effects. Sets the deprison to bait the Typhoon, and it accurately baits the Typhoon. We pick up Bottomless, which is great. It's going to be another way we can protect our bug. We're going to flip the bug, poke for 1,000, and set the Bottomless. I'm like, if you have Gores, you have Gores. I'm getting fucked. But for some reason, I thought he might not have Gores because he set deprison. I don't know why. I don't know why I thought that, but that was my read. And it was correct. Not whether or not because he set the deprison, but I don't know. He picks up a second Powerwell. Little bit awkward. Little bit awkward to have multiples while the Krebens is banished, but, you know, here you are, making stuff happen. Sets the return this turn, wants to get the Krebens online, and we pick up a second copy of DD Crow. Not the best into return, I'm not going to cap. Going to pass the turn, he finds Wind Blast. That's going to be a way he can force through his return through Oppression, which is very bad for us. Here we finally find another insect, so I'm like, based. I don't normal summon it main phase 1 to play around Mirror Force. I normal summon it main phase 2 to just keep our guy strong and not be forced to use the Bottomless on something like a Greffer. He goes for Heavy Storm. I chain Solemn Judgment. He doesn't have an out to that. He goes for the return at this point. Pays half his life points. I try to Oppression that. He Wind Blasts. So Chainlink 1 Oppression. Chainlink 2 Wind Blast. Or no, Chainlink 1 Return. Chainlink 2 Repression. Chainlink 3 Wind Blast. Chainlink 4 DD Crow. And the reason I Chainlink 4 DD Crow is I want to banish his Treeborn Frog. Or not Treeborn Frog. Plague Spreader Zombie. Because I want the Plague Spreader Zombie to come back off of return. If he's not able to capitalize off of this Plague Spreader Zombie, then it's going to get banished in the end phase, and he won't have that resource. So I want to get rid of this Treeborn Frog right here and right now. Now, on this summon, I'm expecting him to fuck up, basically. On the summon of his 2 tuners here from the return, I ask him if he has priority on the summon, basically. Or not if he has priority on the summon. If he wants to activate an effect with priority on the summon. He does not want to. He says he's passing priority, and I'm able to DD Crow his Malicious, and he's going to lose his entire board in the end phase. He did have turn player priority on resolution of the chain to activate his Malicious, but thankfully he passed priority and fucked up, so we were able to DD Crow it. And in the end phase, he loses both his tuners, and I'm able to attack directly for game, which is a tough one. I think I would have lost. I might have lost this game. At least it would have gone longer if he was able to synchro. I'm not sure. If he had made the wrong synchro, then I would have been able to win. But I'm not sure what the wrong synchro even entails. I'm also not even sure if he synchros with the Plague or the Krebens. If he synchros with the Krebens, it turns on both of his Power Wells, which is probably better than having the Plague in the grave. But assuming he did make that synchro play, then he makes Stardust. We're forced to Bottomless the Stardust. Stardust comes back in the end phase. We top deck Oppression. We set that, we pass, and then I guess it just depends on what we would have drawn. And we would have drawn Arsenal Bug and Maneater Bug, so neither of these would have outed a Stardust. So thankfully we caught him on the misplay. I'm not sure exactly how good this insect deck is. I think once I figure out some tighter sideboard plans, it's actually going to be quite potent. Once you draw like this level of interaction, I mean 5 pieces of interaction with some piercing beaters is it's really not a bad place to be, especially because once the beaters die, there's a lot of value in the grave between Doom Dozer and the Lair Wires. And also if you ever draw Verdant Sanctuary, the deck just feels very powerful. Verdant Sanctuary being a way to consistently, where the hell is that deck list? Consistently link your monsters into each other, play into back row, play into stuff like, I don't know, just bigger monsters. You can defend yourself and then until you find the out, the Lair Wire or the Deep Prison or whatever. I don't know. Bit of a long video today. Bit of a lot to go over. 3 different deck lists, a lot of testing in the last 24 hours. I played 5 games with the Quick Draw. Felt unimpressed with that. Played 2 games with the Burn deck. Felt unimpressed with that. And then played 1 deck with the Insect deck and actually felt very impressed with the Insect deck. I'm not sure exactly if I'm going to keep trying it out tomorrow or if I'm going to try out the Telekinetic Powerwell stuff. Either way, tomorrow, episode 8 of Meta Breakers is going to be going up on the channel. Make sure you catch that. And make sure you're subscribed again. If you stuck around to the end, shout out to you. You're a real one. Peace out. See you in the next vid.